he'd have to go on Mondays and get him out of jail or something, because Spencer would end up down in Kansas City someplace and get in trouble and end up in jail. But on Fridays, maybe it's Saturdays, probably Saturdays, when Spencer, it was about time to get off work, or you close at 2:00. I think what they did. Well, Spencer could press pants, and he was really good, but he wanted to get out of there.
Uh-huh.
And had all these pants to press, and he could darn near press a pair of pants, and I'd stand there and put the guards on the hangers,
Uh-huh.
and he could darn near press a pair of pants while I put a guard on the hanger. He was fast, but he was, Dad said stay away from him.
Yeah. So your dad, the dry cleaner was the last job that he had. He retired from that.
Yeah.
Did he continue to run the dry cleaner or own it or anything? Did someone else run it or?
Okay, let me go back a little farther.
Uh-huh.
I grew up. He had the cleaners down in Parkville. He worked at North American Aviation during the war, and he quit and bought the cleaners down there. And I don't remember the times. Were different then. I was little, but at the end of the war, he owned the dry cleaners down there, and then he sold it to Herb Bush.
Uh-huh.
That was more down in Parkville.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was in the first grade then, so it was 46 is what it was. And we moved to Ridgeway, Missouri, which is up north of Bethany.
Okay,
And he
Grandpa
put
talked
in the
about
dry
that.
cleaners up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little small town. It's back in Harrison County where they both grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were there during I guess, the finish of my first grade and into second grade through that summer. And the business failed. It was in the back of the post office is what it was.
Hmm.
And he rented a building there and put in cleaners. Well, it didn't succeed. And we moved back. He owned the big old house in Parkville. And so we moved back there. And, Mom, Janet, and I did. And Archie came to Kansas City and got a job with Butler Manufacturing installing dry cleaners equipment. And
Okay.
he traveled. They gave him a company car, and he traveled all over.
Yeah, I do remember
Everywhere.
some traveling that you talked about that he had
He'd
done.
go from North Dakota, western Kansas, probably Oklahoma, back into Illinois and Indiana, all that territory,
Mhm.
Midwest territory, and always had a light green Chevy, a year old. That's what he had. His first one was a 48, and then he had a 49, 50, 51. The 53 was the last of it. All of them light green 4-door sedans.
Was that his choice or the company giving him that?
They were the salesman's cars. That
Okay.
When they got a new car, the serviceman got their old car. That's
Uh-huh.
what it was.
I see.
So it was always a year old. And he did that for, 48, I guess, to 53.
Huh.
47 to 53. Anyway, he'd go out and installing new equipment for Butler Manufacturing. If there was at this time he owned the apartments too. So the 4-car garage where the cleaning shop ended up was a 4-car garage when he bought it.
Huh.
One for each apartment. But he didn't rent the garages. He kept it for himself. And he would buy anything he was installing new equipment. If the old stuff was pretty decent or whatever, or he knew driving cleaning equipment, he'd buy it and have it shipped there, and it set down there in that shop. And finally, he fell and hurt his back or something,
Mm-hmm.
and had to quit the company. And so he had all the equipment, so he put in a dry cleaning shop there of his own, and he did it, I know, debt free.
Huh.
He owed on the apartments, which incorporated the building, so he still had that debt, but all the equipment that he put in was paid for.
Because he just bought it piece by
Except
piece.
he had to buy a brand new boiler, and I remember him talking about that's his brand new Buick, because it was the same price as a brand new Buick was at that time, apparently.
Yeah.
So, and that's the only new thing he ever had that I remember.